in the shadowed heart of the rugged mountains, where silence wraps the world in a cold, unrelenting embrace, two boys vanished without a trace. 40 years have passed since the autumn of 1981, when the Everett brothers, just 12 and 9 years old, disappeared while roaming the untamed wilderness near their small mountain town. What happened to them? Was it a simple accident, a tragic misstep against nature's merciless grip? Or did something far darker claim them? A secret buried beneath decades of cold snow and whispered memories. Tonight we begin an exploration into a vanished story, a mystery carved into the very stones of the mountainous wilds of central Colorado. The tale belongs to Jack and Tommy Everett, two spirited siblings whose lives and disappearance became etched in the collective consciousness of a close-knit community that has never ceased searching for answers. 40 years passed in silence until a relic emerged from the ice, a small, weather-beaten camera found frozen deep beneath the snow, whispering secrets long thought lost. This is the story of the Everett brothers, their lives before the disappearance, the fateful day they vanished, the desperate search that followed, the tangled web of suspicions and theories that gripped a town, and finally the startling revelations unearthed decades later. It is a story of mystery, of human resilience, and of haunting questions that remain unanswered to this day. The year was 1981, a time before the world was digitized, before smartphones and GPS existed to track a child's footsteps. The town of Pine Ridge, Colorado, sat nestled beneath towering peaks, a small mining and logging community, where life moved slowly and neighbors watched over each other. Winters were long and merciless, and the mountains demanded respect. Within this rugged backdrop, the Everett boys were known as adventurous, inseparable siblings, whose favorite pastime was exploring the endless wilderness that surrounded their home. But in early October of that year, as the golden aspen leaves began to tumble down the slopes, the brothers set out on a hike that would change everything. They were never seen again, swallowed by the unforgiving mountain landscape like shadows fading into dusk. For decades, the search yielded nothing. The mountains kept their secrets, until one bitter winter the camera was found, its lens cracked, its film frozen in time, yet surprisingly intact. What stories did the images captured within reveal? Could the silent frames offer the truth behind a disappearance that had long haunted a community? And more chillingly, what did the camera's discovery mean for what remained buried beneath the snow? As we descend into the saga of the Everett brothers, we invite you to listen closely, to feel the cold bite of mystery upon your skin, and to peer into the darkness where vanished stories dwell. This is not merely a missing persons case. It is a haunting riddle, forged in ice and shadow, and perhaps a testament to the enduring whispers left behind by those who disappear into the wild. Jack Everett was the elder of the two brothers, a boy on the cusp of adolescence, tall for his age, with piercing blue eyes reflective of the vast mountain sky. At 12, he carried the weight of responsibility, protective of his younger brother Tommy, who at 9 was a bundle of curiosity and laughter. The brothers' lives were intertwined, a symbiotic bond forged by shared adventures and a mutual love for the wilderness that wrapped the town like a green and brown quilt of pine and spruce. Their father, David Everett, was a logger, a man marked by calloused hands and a deep respect for the towering forest lands. Their mother, Marjorie Everett, a schoolteacher, instilled in them a quiet discipline and a radiant love for books, stories, and the natural world. Life in Pine Ridge was simple, yet shaped by the rhythms of the mountains and the seasons. The siblings' days were filled with school chores and exploring the vast expanse that lay beyond the town's limits. The family lived in a modest wooden house on the edge of Pine Ridge, a stone's throw from the foot of the mountain range known as the Elk Horns. The mountain peaks, snow-capped for much of the year, loomed large and untamed, their trails winding through thick forests and rocky crags, home to deer mountain lions and hidden pockets of cold silence. In 1981, the town was tightly knit with a population barely over 1,000 souls. Everyone knew each other, and tales of wilderness danger were frequent conversation. Yet for Jack and Tommy, the mountains were a playground, a vast space to roam free away from the watchful eyes of adults. On weekends, they would often disappear for hours, their mother's voice calling softly into the forest as they ventured farther into the labyrinth of trees. Their favorite spot was a small alpine meadow halfway up the Elkhorn Trail, a place they called the Lookout, where the valley below stretched in golden hues and the wind whispered ancient secrets. They took a small camera with them, a hand-me-down Polaroid, an object of fascination for Jack, who loved to capture images of their explorations, freezing moments like the golden leaves in autumn. On that autumn morning of October 5th, 1981, the brothers rose early, brimming with excitement. School had been canceled for the week due to a teachers' conference granting them an unanticipated freedom. They packed a small knapsack with sandwiches, a thermos of hot cocoa, a pocket knife, and the treasured camera. Without telling their parents, or perhaps with a whispered promise to return by evening, they set off for another adventure, one that would change history. The morning was crisp but clear, the sun dazzling behind a veil of slow-moving clouds. Jack and Tommy's laughter echoed through the trees as they stepped onto the trail, their boots crunching over fallen leaves and scattered pine cones. The air smelled of damp earth and wood smoke from distant chimneys. Life was seemingly perfect, an endless mountain carving its quiet pulse into the fabric of their days. But beneath this seemingly tranquil life, subtle dangers lurked. Early frost had begun to kiss the higher elevations, and weather forecasts warned of an unexpected cold front moving down the range. The mountain was unforgiving and sometimes merciless to those who failed to respect its changing moods. The Everett boys, with their youth and trust in one another, had yet to learn this terrible lesson. As the sun climbed, the brothers trekked past familiar landmarks, the twisted pine bent by wind, a hollow log riddled with squirrels, a narrow creek with icy water trickling over stones. Their banter was light-hearted, filled with dreams of climbing higher, discovering new trails and capturing the perfect photograph. For those hours, the mountain seemed to watch over them, vast and welcoming. Evening would come soon, but no one in Pine Ridge suspected that by nightfall, the laughter would fade into cold silence, and the mountain air would be haunted forever by two missing souls. The day unfolded like any other mountain adventure until late afternoon, when the brothers were last seen by a logger named Marv Jensen. Marv had been working on the North Ridge Trail, and around 4 p.m., he spotted two small figures emerging near a thick thicket of aspens, the bright red jacket of Jack and the faded knit cap of Tommy unmistakable. They waved briefly, smiles wide and faces flushed with exertion. But something was off. Marv recalled the boys moving slower, almost cautiously, as if sensing a shift in the mountain's mood. The wind had picked up, carrying a sharp chill, and dark clouds rolled in from the western peaks. The logging radio crackled. A weather warning: snow was expected by nightfall. Minutes later, the brothers vanished beyond sight, swallowed by a bend in the trail and the swiftly thickening fog. When they failed to return home by dinner, their parents grew anxious, calling friends, neighbors, and the local sheriff's office. A search effort was quickly organized, led by Sheriff Bill Connors, a man familiar with the terrain, yet unprepared for the nightmare that awaited. Despite the harshening weather, search parties combed the woods, calling the boys' names until their voices cracked. Helicopters buzzed overhead, beams piercing the twilight as snow began to fall too heavily to navigate. No sign of Jack or Tommy was found. No footprints, no dropped belongings, just an eerie silence hanging thick in the icy air. Locals murmured of the old stories of disappearances in the mountains, of ghostly figures seen near the elk horns, of sudden storms that could freeze a man alive. Fear rooted itself in the town, twisting hope into despair. Days slipped into weeks. The mountain relinquished no clues. The Everett family clung to hope, but endured desperate nights filled with grief and uncertainty. The town held vigils, prayers whispered into the frozen winds, yet the boys had vanished, as if swallowed by the mountain itself. Their cameras, knapsacks, even their coats were gone. It was as if an invisible divide had cleaved them away from the world they knew. And for 40 years, the mystery gnawed in the hearts of those who loved them. The initial search was frantic and exhaustive. Over 200 volunteers joined the effort, trekking dangerous trails under snow and sleet. The National Guard was called in, grid searching every crevice, cave, and stream bed. Bloodhounds tracked scents that evaporated into thin air, yet not a single tangible trace was uncovered. Investigators from Denver's state police took over the case weeks later. They interviewed every person the brothers had encountered in the days prior. Teachers, friends, local shopkeepers. No one reported anything out of the ordinary. The boys had no known enemies. They were beloved children known for kindness and curiosity. Years passed, the search waned, but the case was never closed. Pine Ridge mounted yearly remembrance hikes honoring Jack and Tommy's memory. The law enforcement files thickened with interviews, anonymous tips, false leads, and theories. Local reporters chronicled the tragedy, turning the brothers into a symbol of wilderness mystery. Among the heap of evidence were a few puzzling details. 2 faint footprints were found near a frozen creek, too large for either boy, but wearing boots similar to a local hunter, known only as Red. A torn scrap of red fabric was discovered snagged on a bush close to the tree line, matching the jacket Jack last wore, yet no connection solidified. The community's faith in a peaceful ending slowly faded. Rumors spread of clandestine cave systems beneath the mountain, of illegal logging operations, concealing secrets of disappearances tied to old mountain grievances. Despite decades of hope and effort, the investigation remained stalled, a ghost story written in cold snow and silence. With no definitive leads, suspicion drifted like ash over Pine Ridge. The most persistent suspect was Red Kramer, a rugged hunter and trapper known for his rough temper and affinity for the mountains. Witnesses testified he was working alone that day and seen in proximity to the Everett brothers before their disappearance. He denied all involvement, claiming he was nowhere near the trail when the boys vanished. Another theory involved a rumored hermit living deep within the Elkhorns, a man whom locals called Old Crow. Said to be reclusive and disturbed, Old Crow was believed to guard territory fiercely and frightened children wary of the wilderness near his cabin. Yet no evidence ever linked him to the crime, and he vanished from the town's memory as quietly as the brothers. More outlandish tales flourished in local bars, kidnappers taking children for ransom, a secret cult worshipping the mountain's spirit, or even supernatural involvement, ghosts claiming the young souls in a trade between worlds. Conflicting alibis marred the investigation further. Several townsfolk recalled odd encounters with the Everett brothers days before, including whispers of an argument between Jack and their school principal, though the reason was never clarified. Some claimed to see strange men in black vehicles near the edge of town, stirring dark suspicions of cover-ups. Despite the theories and rumors, no one could prove anything. The mountain seemed to swallow its secrets whole, leaving a fractured town drowning in uncertainty and fear. Then, in the winter of 2021, nearly 40 years after the disappearance, a breakthrough shattered the decades-long silence. A park ranger on routine patrol near the mid-elevation glacier ridge of the Elkhorns discovered a half-buried object beneath a fresh layer of snow and ice. It was the Everett brothers' camera, a battered Polaroid SLR frozen in time yet remarkably intact. Inside, astonishingly, were undeveloped films, frozen solid but unharmed. Forensic experts were called in, carefully thawing the film, revealing images that sent shockwaves through the investigation and the town's collective soul. The photographs depicted the brothers' final hours, images of vibrant leaves, their smiling faces, and then strange, unsettling pictures. Shadows moved oddly in the background. A figure blurred just beyond the frame, its presence dark and ominous. One image showed the boys next to a makeshift wooden shelter hidden beneath heavy branches. Another revealed a sudden distress, a hurried, blurred shot from the ground, perhaps a fall, perhaps something worse. Alongside the photographs were details that contradicted everything previously believed, signs of survival for days after the disappearance, evidence they had taken shelter during an unexpected storm. The camera suggested they had encountered someone or something just before the trail went cold. New leads reopened the case. DNA testing on the camera's strap uncovered traces belonging to an unidentified male. Satellite mapping of the glacier revealed fresh rockfalls and shifts in the landscape that might have revealed other buried evidence. Interviews were restarted, suspects re-examined. The truth hovered within reach, a volatile breath away. The story culminates on the precipice of revelation, a dark riddle poised to unravel. What was captured in those frozen images? Who was the shadow in the final photograph? Did the brothers fall victim to accident, abandonment, or something sinister lurking beneath the snow? The mountains hold their breath as the frozen past whispers its secrets into the present. Jack and Tommy Everett vanished into the wild mountains of Colorado one autumn day in 1981, swallowed by cold silence and years of mystery. Their disappearance reshaped a small town, fractured countless hearts, and left behind haunting questions no one could fully answer until 40 years later, when a camera frozen in ice surfaced, offering a glimpse into their last known moments. We traced their life-inseparable brothers bound by love and adventure, the fateful day when the winds shifted and the mountains swallowed their footsteps, the desperate search that spanned decades, the shadow-streaked suspicions and rumors woven into town lore, and finally, the chilling revelation of the lost photographs that breathe new life into an old mystery. Yet the story remains suspended between light and shadow, fragmentary images frozen in snow and unanswered questions in the crisp mountain air. What truly happened to Jack and Tommy? Did they survive the elements only to meet a darker fate? Or did the mountain, timeless and unforgiving, keep their secret locked beneath ice and stone? Beyond the chilling details lies a deeper reflection on human fragility and the terror of the unknown. In the vastness of nature, where time moves differently and silence dominates life, can be fleeting and fragile as autumn leaves. The Everett brothers' story is a sobering reminder of the shadows lurking just beyond our understanding, that justice and peace can slip through fingers, leaving only echoes. As the sun sets behind the Elkhorn peaks, we are left to wonder, do vanished souls ever truly find peace? Or do their stories continue to echo forever in the silent mountain winds, whispered long after the last footsteps vanish beneath the snow? The mountains keep their secrets, and so does time, but the camera endures a frozen witness to a story that refuses to die, beckoning us to listen and remember.